Hello and welcome to today's podcast. I'm Susan Guthrie, your host, and today we are talking about the very important topic of forging your path to financial independence. And this is such an important issue for people who are facing divorce, but truly at all times in life. This is something that there's so much fear around money in our lives. And so when today's guest reached out to me to talk about this particular topic, I have to tell you, I jumped on her. I said, hey, can you come on Friday? Let's talk about this. And she was kind enough to make time. And so I'm delighted to have you here today, Millen Livis. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Susan. I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, and honestly, you have a really interesting background. I always like my listeners to know the wealth of knowledge and expertise that my guests bring. And you have a wonderful background, but also really disparate, really different. You are a graduate of Wharton's Business School. So, I mean, one of the top, if not the top business school in the country. And you have a master's degree in physics, which I don't even know what that might entail. But, and then flip side of that, or I would say, because those are so practical. And I think of spreadsheets and numbers and figures and structure. And then you're also a certified NLP practitioner, instant miracle energy healer. And you combine traditional and holistic education. So you bring both sides of what I think is so important on this topic together for people. And again, I'm just thrilled that you're here with us today to talk about mapping a unique pathway to financial independence.
It's a great topic. I love to share this experience, this knowledge, because so many people feel that financial independence in their lives is just a pipe dream, right? It's possible for sports people, it's possible for the rich neighbors, or for some maybe famous actors. I mean, of course, they have millions and millions and billions, but for me, who am I? That's how a lot of people think. And I love to share my example because it shows that common woman like myself who went through divorce, who was emotionally broke and broken and financially broke, and I will share the details of my story, can turn this around. It's possible, and there are some really simple steps that you can consider taking right away. So consider your journey to financial independence starts right today after you listen to this episode.
See, I love that. And that's one of my favorite things to do in an episode is give listeners those concrete, what you're going to do next steps. But first, I do want them to hear a little of your backstory. You and I were just talking, and we were talking about where we were located. I'm in the chilly, Midwest in Chicago. You're sitting in beautiful Southern Florida, and you also live in the south of France. So right off the bat, you're doing something right. But tell my listeners a little bit of your story, because I think that truly gives a layer of understanding and something that many of them will connect with.
So first of all, I'm a first generation immigrant from Lithuania. I came to the United States over 30 years ago. When I came to this country, even though I had master's degree in physics, I was well educated. I didn't speak the language. So obviously, it doesn't matter how educated you are when you cannot really communicate. So my first job was a florist assistant for $4.50 per hour. And I was happy because I was able to support my family. So the beginning was very humble. It took me 1 year to self-teach English. And in 1 year, my first professional job was IT consultant for Merrill Lynch. And from there, I climbed the corporate ladder like many of us do. And I became executive. I worked for major Wall Street companies, Morgan Stanley, Deutsche Bank, Bank Strauss, Dean Witter, et cetera, et cetera. And it was good. I was making good money. It was prestigious to work on Wall Street. And at some point, I felt that something was really missing in my life. Like I felt this void that I could not explain. Because, you know, I was married, I had a beautiful house in the suburbs of New York and New Jersey, and we had tennis parties, we have pool parties. I work in a nice office in Wall Street Center for different companies. Like, what could go wrong? I was living my American dream. But you know what? Important, very important what you feel inside, because a lot of people only measure their success by what's happening in the external life. But what we often forget, that if we don't feel fulfilled, if we don't feel content inside, doesn't matter what you have. And that's why a lot of rich people, they pretty much unhappy. So I started experiencing this. And what I did was trying to, because I didn't know what was happening, I became a shopaholic. I will go across the street because I was working in World Trade Center. So I would go across the street to Century 21. I would buy stuff that I didn't need. And then the next day I will bring this stuff, because you never have enough of something that you don't need, right? So that's what happened to me when I was trying to figure out what was happening. My relationship, my marriage was not working for a while. But I was kind of like covering this up by prestigious job, by the opportunities that finally we had money and we could travel. But all of this came to kind of climax when one day I was sitting in my beautiful office, looking at the computer screen and thinking, like, do you see yourself living this superficial life for the next 10, 20 years? And the answer was like, no. So in my typical way, I said, okay, I have to dare to change my life. And by the way, that's how I called my company, Dare to Change Life. I have to dare to change my life because I don't want to live my life with regrets. So I decided that I want to end my marriage. I walked away from my marriage. It was my decision. And I also decided that I want to do something else with my life in terms of my career. So because I wasn't clear, I said, well, I will go to the best business school and then I will figure out what's next. And actually, it was my manager who suggested, he said, like, Wharton Business School is such a great school, why not? Okay, so why not? So I went to Wharton Business School, graduated with this golden prestigious MBA degree, but because I still did not take time to figure out what do I really want? What is important for Millen? You know, I was just kind of like running in life. So I graduated and I knew I don't want to go back to corporate, but what's next? And that was the potent moment when I took time and I said, okay, what do you really want? What is really important for you? And the answer was freedom. I wanted to be free from being with a man who I don't want to be with and being with him just because I'm afraid to support myself on my own. I didn't want to work for a manager who maybe I don't want to work for, or maybe I'm not aligned with, right? And I never wanted to depend on the government, because at the beginning, when we just came to this country for 6 months, we were on welfare, and I knew that I never want to experience this again. So freedom was my North Star. But how? So the next question was, okay, you want to be free, great, but how? The answer was, you have to be financially independent to be free. Okay, so you want to be financially, I'm telling you because I'm trained as a scientist. So the way my mind thinks is like, if then. Okay, so you want to be financially independent, but how? You have to have multiple sources of income. Okay, multiple sources of income. Okay, but how? So I started thinking, I already know how to invest in the stock market. I was an investor. I learned while I was working on Wall Street, but it's not enough. You have to have multiple sources of income and specifically multiple streams from each source. So that's when I decided that I want to learn how to invest in real estate. And I had no knowledge about real estate whatsoever. So I decided that I want to study with the best investors I can find in the country. I was flying all over, finding great real estate investors, studied with them. And then I started my own company, my own real estate investing company. I was fortunate to get business partners. And the beginning was great. We were investing in different states. It was great. I had a team that was working with me. And then 2008 happened.
Yeah.
And when 2008 happened, everything fell apart. And I fell apart with everything. I had to let go of my team. I was running out of my savings that I was using to pay for everything. And my business partner said, we want out. We want to like buy us out. We want to sell everything. I was like, I can't sell right now. We're upside down. So the pressure, the sense of failure and shame was so big that I really got depressed. And the constant thinking that I had in my mind at this time was, I'm such a failure. I'm such a failure. Like I felt like it was written on my forehead. I'm such a failure. So I was avoiding people. It got so bad that basically I was considering like, how can I end this pain and end this life? And I was fortunate enough to, like, I was walking on the street one day. I was fortunate enough to meet my neighbor. We started talking and she said, you know what, something is strange. She said, I want you to talk to this person. And she basically asked someone who she knew to call me. And this someone happened to be a life coach. And what he said to me was really profound. Because I kept saying, I'm such a failure, I'm such a failure. And he said, look, failure is not a person, it's an experience. It has the beginning and the end. And I was like, so it can end? And he said, absolutely. He said, your inner world determines your outer world. So, what's within, so without, right? We know this. And he said, I think you've got to work with me. And my first reaction was like, I can't afford you. I was like literally financially broke.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, my darling, you cannot afford not to work with me. And that was the turning point for me when I realized that, you know what, if I'm not working properly, if me as an engine of my life, as an engine of success in my life is not working, nothing else matters. So I realized that investment in me is the best investment I can make. So I found a way to invest and work with him. And within a few months, I started feeling better. I started functioning again. And guess what? I made really good investments. And within a few years after that, I became financially independent. And now, looking back, I was like, I can't believe that it was possible. Not only that, I felt so pregnant with all the information that I accumulated during this very painful experience. Now I call it the dark night of my soul. But I was pregnant with this information, so I decided that I want to write about this. So my first book was published in 2015. It's called A Shift Toward Purpose, Secrets to an Amazing Career. And, you know, I never considered it became bestseller, by the way. I never considered myself a writer. So I wrote this book because I could not write it. It was just need to express this. And then in 2016, I wrote another book, A Shift Toward Abundance, Secrets to Financial Freedom, where I share my understanding of duality of money and wealth. There is a spiritual aspect of money and wealth, and there are practical aspects. So I talk about both because during my challenging time, my divine crisis, I intuitively became very rooted in spiritual principles. I intuitively started meditating and praying because I was not raised religious. You know, I never meditated before, I never prayed before. And because I was so alone, because the friends of my ex-husband took his side,
yeah,
right? Because it was my decision. I left him, so I was the bad person. My family were very upset at me because they felt like he's a good person. He doesn't drink, he doesn't beat you up. Like, why would you leave someone like that? He's a good provider. So I could not really talk to them. So I was very lonely. And the only source I had or resource I had was God. You need the universe. So that's why I realized that it's very important to be able to connect to this power within that we all have. So this book, A Shift Toward Abundance, talks about that as well as practical things like how to invest in the stock market and how to invest in all other assets that appreciate over time, etc. Because like I said, I'm a very practical person who is also very rooted in spiritual principles. So, and that's what I teach now. That's what I use in my life and when I work with my clients.
Well, that is such a wonderful story. I want to break it down into some shorter chunks. So first, Millen, one of the things that you and I were talking about was your backstory, was the fact that you, in fact, have been in a place where you did not feel financially independent. And that's something that I think so many of my listeners are facing right now, whether they're facing divorce or they're beyond their divorce, or they're just in that place where they're feeling dependent on someone else. And that is such a soul destroying place to feel dependent on someone else. And you've been there, you've had that feeling.
Yes, I did. And I should say, unfortunately, because ultimately we all want to marry someone and live happily ever after. But in real life, it's rarely happens that way. And that's okay too, because when we meet someone, we are at certain level of our own evolution, own awareness. And then over time, we evolve and our awareness evolves, our preferences in life, our values could evolve as well, right? The goals. And sometimes we just grow apart. And that's what happened in my case. We just grew apart in many ways, in our interest, in our values, in our preferences in lives, in our goals. So I felt that it's not fair. And I remember when I decided to leave my husband, I said, I will be a better friend to you than I was a wife, because I wanted to be authentic, and I wanted to be not only authentic in terms of how I show up in my life, but I want to be authentic how I show up as a wife as well, right? So if I feel that I just don't enjoy this relationship because we just don't have much in common, I didn't want to fake it. I don't want to fake it until I make it, okay? Especially in the marriage. I want to be the person who really appreciates and enjoys life. And when the person who you're with is not really the right person, it's okay, because there is a life after that, and you can be respectful toward your ex, or maybe your future ex. You can be respectful and like this person, but it doesn't mean that you are meant to be husband and wife, something like that.
Yeah, well, and you and I were talking before we started taping about, making that decision to end a marriage because it's not working for one, which I always believe, if it's not working for one, it's not working for both, whether one of the
It's always two-way street, always.
Yeah. But that's, so many people, one, will stay in the relationship because they feel dependent, right? That they cannot leave because there's that fear that if they leave, they won't have, they can't support themselves, they won't have enough money. And there's people who I think that as well will identify with what you just said about, fake it till I make it, or I've made this choice to be married to this person, I'm not going to leave. And you spoke earlier about freedom. And I think both of those pathways actually are, finding both the freedom to be in an authentic relationship or be authentic to yourself, as well as to be able to be financially independent, that is the pathway to freedom. And I know that you very much believe that.
And I just want to add something else. I was this woman who was staying in the relationship because I was afraid that I would not be able to support myself. I was not sure that I can have this lifestyle that I want to have if I leave this marriage. And then I realized that I was allowing money to control my life. And that's not right. I should be in control of my money, not money should control my life. And that's why when I realized that, I was like, you cannot continue like that. You must dare to change your life. And money will never be in control of your choices. You have to be in control of your money, so money will never control your life. That was the kind of like a rationale behind my decision, because I was like, really? You are willing to stay in this relationship because you're not sure that you can be on your own? What kind of person are you? It was very painful questions. Believe me, my decision to walk out of my marriage was very challenging for me. It was probably one of the most challenging decisions because I had to face my own fear. I had to look in the mirror and say, why are you in this relationship if you're not happy? What exactly is keeping you here? And money was a big part of this. Yes, it was commitment. It was a pressure from the family. It was my daughter who we had. So, but money was a big part of this. And I said, money will never, never control my choices about my life and my relationship. And that's why I was on this crusade for personal and financial freedom, because you cannot have personal freedom without financial freedom. You know, they all kind of like go together. And I said, you can make it happen without really relying on someone supporting you financially. And that's when.
Yeah, that to me is the key here. The thing that I want, the golden nugget, I always talk about the golden nuggets in these episodes. And I think you just dropped a golden nugget, because if you can be financially independent, then money is not controlling your life. You're controlling your money, and you can make decisions about what your authentic life looks like without money being one of the factors that has to control that. And I know that resonates with people who are listening. So you just talked about that, the fact that you need to find that financial independence. You are an expert in how to find that financial independence. So let's dive into that. How do you get started for that person out there who's like, yeah, this is great what you're saying. I love what it sounds like, but how do I can't do this.
And I just want to tell you that I made a lot of mistakes, right? Because when I was navigating through this, I had no idea how to get there. I was just like, this sounds great, this sounds good, but I was navigating. Now that I actually accomplished this goal, what I did, I reverse engineered this, and I came up with this. I created this method that I call the Millionaire Method, right? Playing off a little bit of my name. So the Millionaire Method incorporates 4 pillars. So, and I really briefly say, and then I will say talk about the steps. So the Millionaire Method incorporates practical skills and money skills and soft skills. So you've got to develop wealth mindset, period. You've got to develop this wealth mindset because most people have consumer mindset. And that's a big difference, and that's the problem. Secondly, you've got to manage your money effectively. You've got to be financially savvy to manage your money in a way that you will have more money than you have expenses. The third pillar is that you've got to learn how to grow your money, right? You've got to learn how to invest strategically. I'm a strategic investor. I invest, I love investing, and I like the fact that my money works for me, and that's what I teach. And the fourth pillar is you've got to be really rooted in spiritual principles. I call it practical spirituality, because we all have this power within that we can connect to. And I use this power, you can call it intuition, whatever people have different names for this, universe, God, but you've got to be able to connect to this power because it's essential. It amplifies all your efforts. So that's the Millionaire Method. So now the simple steps that I always like to share, because it's not easy to say, okay, I want to be wealthy or I want to be financially free, but where do I start? So, and I also want to have I want to distinguish wealth, financial independence. You start with the goal being financially independent, and then, everything else is a cherry on the cake, right? So the first step is very, very important, that you start with the end in mind. How exactly your financial freedom looks like. Because some people may say, well, I want to have a Lamborghini, I want to have a boat, I want to live, in south of France and south Italy, etc. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But be clear about your end goal, because you will know where you're going, right? And when we know where we're going, then we can take steps that are aligned with this goal. So always start with the end in mind and be clear what is it that exactly that you want to create, that your financial freedom will look like. Okay, the second step, you've got to know where you are right now. You've got to know your current cash flow, your current situation, because believe it or not, a lot of people, they get money, they spend money, and they don't really know exactly how their cash flow looks like. And maybe they have a lot of leaks in their cash flow. So being aware of your current cash flow is very, very important, practical, down-to-earth step. And if you feel that you afraid of numbers, which I hear sometimes from women, like, I'm afraid of numbers, it's because you don't want to look honestly at your financial situation, and that doesn't help. So you've got to start with that, right? Know your current cash flow. Then you've got to calculate. Once you know your current cash flow, and once you know, like, you're here, you starting your journey here, and you want to go here. So now you have to calculate, okay, what adjustments I need to make, or I call it financial freedom number. How much money I have to make a month passively in order for me to feel that I live this lifestyle that I want to live, and I don't need to worry about money because I have a passive income coming in, right? So we calculate this financial freedom number. I'm telling you exactly what I did. I calculated at that time, it was like, if I only get 8,000 a month passive, I am financially free. Okay. So and then from there, you can have more, you can do whatever you want. But that's the level when you know that you never worry about, you never have to worry about money again. That's my goal for everyone who I speak to, that you've got to get to the point that you don't worry about money, which means that you receive your financial freedom amount every month passively, and you don't need to worry about this. So that's the third step. And then the next step is, okay, but so now you calculate this amount, but how do you actually achieve this, right? That's the goal. So that's when you start idea storm financial freedom income. What kind of streams of income, sources of income you've got to develop in order to fulfill this number. So, for example, for some people, they only want to invest in real estate. Other people don't want to hear about real estate. They only want to invest in stock market. Many people these days want to invest in cryptocurrency. They don't want to hear about anything else, right? Like, cryptocurrency is the I don't know, they say, right?
Yeah.
Right. So what I'm saying is that be clear, but maybe you want to write the books and rely on royalty. Maybe you artist who is a talented painter, like, it would be different for different people. But thinking in terms of idea storm, the different sources of income that you can develop, and preferably different streams of income in every source. Like, for example, if you want to invest in the stock market, every stock that pays dividends is your independent stream of income from your source stock market. Okay, so but you also got to, okay, so for example, I want to invest in cryptocurrency, or I want to invest in stock market, but I don't have skill sets right now. So you've got to, based on the sources that you will idea storm and you will decide that I want to develop, you've got to develop the skill sets that will allow you to have to develop this source of income. Remember, I shared that when I said I want to have multiple sources of income, but I only know how to invest in the stock market, and that was not enough. I said, okay, I have to develop skill sets to be a successful real estate investor. And that's why I started studying with best investors in the world. So that in the country, not in the world. So what I want to say is that, you know, this is kind of like, it maps you very specific, very strategic steps that you will know. Okay, so first, again, let me just summarize. It start with the end in mind. You have to know how your financial freedom lifestyle looks like. So you don't just shoot in the dark saying, I just want to be wealthy, which a lot of people do. Okay. The second step, know where you start your journey. Like, you know your like you on your GPS, you know where you have to start, right? So you evaluate your current cash flow, right? Be very clear. And then you've got to calculate, okay, now I know what my financial freedom lifestyle looks like, how much money I will need to receive passively. And if you want to have like a little bit more luxurious life, then it will take a little bit longer. So you calculate your financial freedom number, which is the amount of money you will receive passively every month. And the 4 steps, okay, what kind of investments, what kind of sources of income? And for many people, it's, by the way, it's business too. Business could be your source of income, but eventually it needs to have passive income from your business, right? So what kind of sources of income I want to develop to fulfill this financial freedom number, and what skill sets I need to attain in order to have these sources of income. That's exactly what I've done in my life. And obviously it worked out well. And you know what? It took me 7 years to become financially independent. But again, I had no idea what I was doing. I was zigging and zagging a lot, right?
Making it up as you went along, right?
Right. But at the same time, when you have kind of like a map, and you know where you're going, and you know where you're starting, and you know what you need to do, it may take much, much less time.
Well, and something that you just said about sort of step 4, how you're actually going to start bringing in your financial freedom number is developing skill sets. And this is something that I talk about. I've talked about it for years with my divorcing clients. If you start thinking about this, if you start going through these 4 steps and mapping during your divorce, imagine the power of knowing where you are, where you want to go, and what skill sets you might want to start building out. Because then when you're negotiating your divorce, you can be thinking, and I want to go to Wharton's business school like Millen did, or I want to learn how to write a book, or all these different things that you were just talking about. And there are a myriad of different ways to bring in, passive income and additional sources of income. I want to learn to be a real estate investor. And so I think that's critically important for my listeners who are in that space of feeling fear around this, thinking, sure, I want this financial independence. If you start mapping now, you have the ability to start plotting your path forward now as well. And I think that's critically important for them. You mentioned to me earlier, Millen, that the vast majority of the clients that you actually work with, and you work as a financial coach, a money coach, are going through divorce, have been through divorce, are thinking about divorce. So I think that you must be dealing with this question for people all the time, because the two are so combined.
Yes, and a lot of them really overwhelmed with lower energy emotions, because any divorce, I don't care if it's amicable, not amicable, it's a major transition in your life. So it's very important that you have a healthy approach to this time in your life. First of all, that you very compassionate toward yourself, because you know that this is something that affects you on so many levels, on your physical level, on emotional level, on spiritual level, right? So be compassionate toward yourself, and also be strategic. about where you are and where you want to go, right? Just knowing that, first of all, there is a life after divorce for sure. And it could be much happier life, and you don't know what opportunities are awaiting for you around the corner. You don't know that, and everything is possible. Like look at me, right? I live in 2 countries. I have beautiful homes. I'm happily remarried, and I do the work that I absolutely enjoy doing and feel fulfilled, right? And where I was. So everything is possible, but you've got to really have clarity. A lot of people during the divorce, they feel somewhat overwhelmed or maybe down, and they don't have clarity. Like, what do I want? You remember, I started with the 4 steps starts with, what is my end goal? I want to be happy. I want to be independent. I want to, whatever your want is, right? So be very clear and start mapping your way there. Okay, it could be, it doesn't necessarily have to be only financial plans, but finances, I always say money is a back door to your subconscious mind. So money is a very important indicator of where you are right now in life. Because if you're struggling, if you're afraid to leave your relationship that is not working just because of money, it's because something inside you experience a lot of fears, you experience a lot of sabotaging beliefs. So that needs to be attended. You remember the coach that saved my life, who said, what's within, so without? Yeah. So my life was a mess because within it was a mess. So, and during the divorce, it's very important that you really attend to your health, not only physical health, but also emotional health and spiritual health and mental and financial.
And financial, yes. Well, and it is truly, the key to your beyond. And I talk about the beyond of divorce all the time. You and I mentioned to each other earlier, that ability to have that financial independence has also given you the ability to have a positive relationship with your ex-spouse. And I would say the same as well. Absolutely. Because I have not been, and you are not dependent on the person that you used to be married to. So you're able to continue to have a more positive relationship.
And that's exactly what happened in my relationship. I shared with you that, my divorce attorney wanted me to take half of his business, half of like everything. And I was like, you know what? I know what I want, but I don't want to destroy this man. I respect him and I want him to have a happy life after as well. And that's why now we are on very good terms, and he's one of my best friends. So it's possible. Because you know what, you can create your financial life. You don't have to feel that you're handicapped just because you're going through divorce and you don't have husband at the moment.
Yeah. And in fact, I know we're running to the end of our time, but you have 2 free gifts for listeners that will help them. So everyone who's been listening up to now and said, wow, this is, something that I need to know more about, you have a gift and you have an opportunity to actually speak with you. If you could share more about those.
Absolutely. So I'm very happy to invite your listeners to download what I call Beginner Investor Toolkit. And you can get it at giftfrommillen.com, giftfrommillen.com, which is, this toolkit gives you 8 specific points for strategic investing. So you will know exactly what is right investing for you right now, how to find this investment. So it's very, very simple and very helpful tool for you. That's why I call it Beginner Investor Toolkit for strategic investing. And if you want to talk about your particular situation, about your particular unique path to financial independence, that I could maybe give you some pointers, some suggestions, how you can get there faster, then I want to offer you a great opportunity to talk to me. It's a complimentary consultation that I call Never Worry About Money Again, where we will map your unique path to financial independence. And you can book this consultation at speakwithmillen.com. speakwithmillen.com. So you have giftfrommillen.com, where you will get your Beginner Investor Toolkit. And if you want to speak with me, and the value of this consultation is $500, and it would be complimentary to you, I think it's a great opportunity, especially in this time of the year, that you take advantage of this. Again, speakwithmillen.com. You will get never worry about money again opportunity to book the consultation with me.
Well, I thank you on behalf of my listeners. What a wonderful opportunity. And I do want to make sure they know if they really want to take that deep dive, you actually have a 6-month program, which is really a life-changing experience. And that's called Awaken Money Mastery. If you'd let people know also where to find out about that and just how to reach out to you or find out more about you, Millen, get your books, etc.
Sure. So the Awaken Money Mastery is a 6-month program which has 2 components. Mindset. So we will work on developing investor wealth mindset, which most people unfortunately don't have. And it involves improving your relationship with money, up-leveling your wealth thermostat, so many things that we work on, because I feel that having this mindset of abundance, mindset of people who are wealth creators, not wealth consumers, is essential. And the second part of this program is practical money skills, because we will track your cash flow. You will eliminate your leaks, right? Potential money leaks in your cash flow. You will know how to pay off your debt faster if you use that. And you will know how to use that as leverage, because all successful investors use that as leverage. I call it good debt. And we will calculate financial freedom number as part of this training as well. And also idea storm your financial freedom income. All of this is included in this program. And I will give Susan the link. It's daretochangelife.com/awakened money mastery. And it's a program where you will master your money, master your mind, and master your money. I'm very excited about this program. We're going to start this program next year, offering this. So just take a look, and if you're interested, sign up as soon as possible.
So, well, it's starting in early 2022. This episode's going to air in December of 2021. So the timing's perfect, everyone. Start the new year off right, and map your future to financial independence. Millen, thank you so very much. I will put links to everything in the show notes, but I truly thank you for reaching out and bringing this information. This is such a scary area for people, and your story and what you've been able to accomplish and your ability to break it down, it gives everyone hope. I know that it does. So thank you so very much.
Thank you. And happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everyone.